Hey everyone, how are you doing? I really wanted to do a live play of me playing a game. However, I couldn't think of an appropriate game. I mean, there was Ghostbusters, but I cannot remember where I am in that game, so I would have to start again. And you might end up with about 2 or 3 Ghostbuster game versions. That'll be a bit awkward. But the other option was Rage of Blood. And I gotta be honest with you, when it gets to the scary bit, I freak out. So that game wasn't happening. But while I was working on the Doll's House, my husband suggested to me a game which is kind of to my personal liking. To give you a context, people will know that I really love creating things. I love doing the dream jars, I love the Doll's House, I love doing the diamond art, and I particularly like doing cross stitching, and I'm currently learning how to crochet as well. So my husband suggested that there is a game where the whole point of the game is you're repairing stuff in this space station while trying to solve a mystery as to what happened to the space station. Yeah, he didn't have to say much to me. I was hooked. So we had a little go, and I loved it. It was only the beta test. The real game comes out in 2026. It will be available on Stream, PC. It will also be apparently available on PlayStation, but that will be later than the PCs. And that's if the beta test got some good response, which I absolutely loved playing the game. I really think that it could work. So I thought I'd do a review on that, as I had enjoyed it. So, to give you an idea, the game is called The Lift. It was created, distributed by Fantastic Signals, and produced by tinyBuild. Very appropriate name. The basic context of the game is you're playing a handyman, and his mission is to repair the space station back to its original glory. There are a few concepts. Number one being, in order to get the equipment, you have to use coins that you found around on a vending machine to be able to repair a lot of stuff. This can also mean that you take stuff from previous repairs in order to repair something else. Now, every time you repair, you get a certain number of points, and those number of points add up to levels. With each level, you get access to new equipment. You don't just use a spanner or a hammer. You also use a very weird vacuum cleaner, which allows you to soak up this black entity that is constantly lying around. You also find around a little bee extractor, and this extracts honey, and you use honey to power a lot of the equipment, like the vacuum cleaner, which is quite an interesting concept when you think about it. You're basically in a space station. Something has happened in the space station, and you have to clean it up, while at the same time find out what has happened to the space station. In the beta test that I played, you ended up in a carriage that looked very much like a train coach carriage. You had what looked like to be a post service, particularly in the US. So you had a waiting room, you had telephones, and you had several other things as well, including a safe, which you had to find the codes for in order to get into the safe. They can be from various tapes that you can find, which can also help you solve the mystery. They can also be bits of paperwork as well lying around that can equally help you. It transpires through time. In the beta test, you never truly know what is going on, but you get the impression something weird has happened here. It's not. It's the website describes it as inspired by the SCP Foundation. The SCP is a Reddit collection of very weird items and objects that transpire around the UK, and is held in this foundation to keep the main general public safe. I haven't quite worked out what the SCP in this game is, but I'm sure in the original game we would eventually find out. It certainly is very, very spooky. Not something I would describe as scary. Okay, I got to admit, when I first saw the guy that was petrified by the door, I had to admit I was a bit startled myself. But the actual spookiness is more the fact that you're in a very, very silent space station. There is a very atmospheric music behind it, but behind that you've also got the silence, and the silence is played beautifully. As well as that, with a lot of the rooms, you also don't have that much light, and this is where your repairing comes in. You can either use the torch which you have on you, which gives you a direct light, but it doesn't give you a full room light. For that, you have to find various light bulbs and repair the lights. This is the only criticism I've got to the game. And that is that in the game, you get moments where you're repairing a bulb and you end up with this bright light. That is detail-wise for effect. If you do end up putting a light bulb in and you forgot to do the switch, you do end up with the light in your eyes. In a gaming perspective, it does eventually give you a headache, and it was starting to give me a headache when the lights blinded my eyes a little bit. So that would be my only drawback in the game. But repair-wise, it's absolutely fine. Not all of the repairs are easy peasy. Some of them you've got to level just right in order to get the screw in. Sometimes the door has to be opened a specific way in order to open. Otherwise, you end up with a bang as it hits the ceiling and then bang as it hits the floor, which can be quite comical but also quite startling. You also get to find keys as well to open certain locks, and eventually you get lock picks as well to be able to pick the locks, which took a little while to work out, if I'm truly honest. I could have done with a little bit more of a intro to how to lockpick on that one. That would have been quite useful. But all in all, it was really good. I loved the dusty effect that it had, as if to give the indication it's been abandoned for quite a while. Excuse my phone, that's a message that has come on my phone while I'm trying to record this. And because it was a beta test, there was an incident where someone was talking on the phone. You do get someone talking to you through the phone. This is for people that have entered the space station. You're not linked to them in any way, shape or form. They're actually surprised that you are still alive. They actually are there to salvage what they can from the space station. So whether they're good or evil, we don't know in the beta system. What we do know is at one point during the beta test, and it is explained when you start the game, that you will get an incident where there will be some glitches, there will be some sound or voiceovers missing because they haven't either recorded it yet or they're still in the process of building it into a certain way.
Did you hear that? Disconnected. I'm sure I remember the emergency protocol on this type of station. It was on my exam, and you know what? There is no protocol. No protocol allows for disconnecting from the MC branch no matter what's happening on the station. Not only is it impossible to disconnect from the local MC branch, it's against regulations. Maybe the power went out.
Nah, this here's something else. MC's not a toaster, a mere blackout isn't knocking it out. But if they got themselves a real gutsy critter on the station...
Hold on, I have to stop you there. You'll have plenty of time to air your wild theories once the job is done. I'm counting on you to keep a cool head, Keeper. To investigate the situation further, you need to turn the lights back on in the main hall, then find the Nectar Production Center and get the nest operational.
That's true. Without nests, we'd have no batteries, and the cleaning beam isn't much of a beam without them. Wouldn't take you less than 500 cycles to clean that mess up without it.
Strictly speaking, we need it to increase wave production. But it can't hurt to get a look at things. We're fumbling around in the dark at the moment. Quite literally.
Hence why a lot of the time when you were watching the people's lips when they were on the phone, they didn't quite match what was being said, and I think that was still in development when they did the beta test. It didn't spoil the beta test. The beta test was actually quite fun. It was actually quite cool, but it did create this interesting scenario where you had someone talking, but there was no sound at all. I think you had to then kind of read what was going on at the bottom. Hopefully, when they release the game, they'll have fixed that. I also ended up at one point with a table glitching, as in the table was up in the air and not on the floor, and then when I left and came back in the room, it was back on the floor. So that was an interesting scenario. By the way, FYI, the game that you're watching right now is my husband's play, not mine. I didn't think about recording when I played it myself, so I don't have a recording of me playing the beta test, so I've had to borrow when my husband was playing it. But our game was roughly the same, which is why he's let me borrow his game. And gameplay-wise, gameplay was absolutely fantastic. I really enjoyed the simplicity of the fact that you point it and there's a little dot that lights up which tells you you can activate it. You can change what item that you've got in your hand. The one item I really loved, because it kind of made me laugh, is the vacuum cleaner one. It has a proper name. Right now, at this very point, that name escapes me. But I've known it as the vacuum cleaner because when I saw the description, the first thing I said to my husband, which made him laugh, was, "It's basically a vacuum cleaner." It is basically a vacuum cleaner. There's no other way to describe this machine. It's a vacuum cleaner that absorbs this black goo that may be the entity of the alien. We just don't know. So we'll have to see what kind of game it is. It was an interesting gameplay. It might be a tad... like, once you've got it, you've got it. I think with the repetitiveness, it might be in danger of being easily bored or easily distracting for the player. For someone like me who loved playing those kind of games, I really, really loved it. And I loved the sci-fi feel to it. I actually remember I'm part of a sci-fi group, and I was telling everyone at the group about it, and I had one person at least play it. So the science fiction genre alone is enough to hook people. But regards to the actual gameplay, there is a slight danger that the attention span not quite sticking, particularly with the gap between the mystery and the repair, can be quite long. You do have some help you have two characters. One is a kind of robot that can sell. You can sell and give stuff, but you can also buy off him, and he can give you some advice.
Place far. Oh, wrong show. Let's start over. Ahem. A long time ago, there was a house here, and people. So many people. Then it ended. No one remained, and almost nothing of the house did either. They ran. No one ever came back. But they forgot one thing. They forgot that someone, purely by accident, was left behind. Someone survived.
Because something here made sure they did.
And the other guy at the beta test, I don't know if he's in every single version of the game, but he definitely is in this beta test. He's like a little traveler. And he comes to you. He's the one that gives you the lockpicks, but he also does deals with you. So if you find a particular item in the area and give it to him, he will go, "Hooray, great, brilliant, here's something for you." And you basically carry the game on from there. He's also a second, when the vending machines are empty, you can go to him. So you do have the option to build up your inventory to be able to fix quite a lot of things.
Standing around in the corners, saying nothing, quiet types, not even moving. Them. Us, for instance, we're Scrapper, that much we know, that we're Scrapper, and you're Lifty, that we know too. Although we don't know much about anything else. We do our business, that's what we do. We collect, well... But if you care, well, so, stop by if there's a chat you want. You will see some machines round here, the red ones. The machines with spare parts inside meant for repairs. They take coins too, but don't bother with them, no. No point messing with them and putting good coins in. We'll give you lockpicks if you bring us the coins instead. You could use them to open lockers, maybe cabinets too. We, for instance, have some important matter for you to sort out before you fall asleep again, because, well, you do love to sleep, yes, that much we've noticed.
So the big question, would I play the game? Would I play the game when it's released in 2026? It's already on my wish list on stream, and I am so excited to be able to play this game. When I get the game, I'd love to do a live stream with you guys, but I would give this game a 9 out of 10, simply because some of the glitches are still there. Once those glitches are fixed, and once the voiceover is all complete, it will be a full-on 10 out of 10 for me. I loved the mystery. I loved the looking around, the finding out what things are. I loved it all the way through, and I hope this game comes out on schedule. You've got it on your wish list, haven't you, hon? He's asleep. Anyway, when hopefully in 2026 you'll see me play the game, but until then, have a fantastic Halloween, and I'll see you around. Bye, guys!